We are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mae Krell.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, so singer-songwriter Mae Krell. I'm really excited to chat with you today. We met through Lunch Club on LinkedIn. Have you been doing a lot of Lunch Clubs still?
I haven't done as many because I've been a little bit busier, but they're nice. I really like them.
Yeah, I do too. I've met a lot of people I wouldn't otherwise. And what was so exciting about you is that you're a New York City-based singer-songwriter. You've lived in the city all your life. You grew up in Hell's Kitchen, and your approach to your career has been not only very New York, but also very authentic. And I think you kind of embody this, pursuing things another way. So, so I really want to talk about all that. So start us out by giving us a little introduction to Mae Krell.
Yeah, sure. I just got the hiccups.
Oh.
Great timing. Yeah, so I grew up in Hell's Kitchen in New York City to like immigrant parents. So it's like very stereotypical in that sense. Hell's Kitchen was very immigrant-y when I was a kid. And in terms of music, so I focus mainly now on making music, producing music. I am a singer-songwriter and I do more acoustic focused, lyrical focused stuff. But recently I've been kind of diving a little bit into more produced things, but still leaning acoustic. I think at the end of the day, when I'm playing live, which obviously it'll be a while, I want the shows to be stripped down, because when I think about all the shows that I've been to that stuck with me, it was always like an artist with an instrument just standing there pouring their heart out, and like I don't want to be any different. So maybe I'll put out tracks that are a little bit less, but that's kind of what I want to be putting out, what I want to do.
Cool. Yeah, and on your website you say that your goal is to simply evoke new emotions with each note. So would you say that's kind of like your vision as an artist?
Yeah, I want to make sure people know that they're heard and understood. And I'm like it's like funny because I'm a pretty happy person. I make some pretty damn sad music. I think it all kind of goes out into that. And then I kind of get the rest of my emotions and the rest of what's going on to just kind of like chill with. Like a lot of the sad goes into the songs. And sometimes there's a little bit of optimism in there, like my news track. But yeah, I'm not generally the way that I seem like I would be.
Yeah, I think Lana Del Rey actually has talked about that, how her music sound, a lot of people will
put depressing. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, no, that's my music. So cool. Now, did you start as a singer? Like, when did you start singing? Because I know you've also done photography.
Yes. I was always too shy. So my little sister, who is 17 now, she's an actress and a singer, and she's done like some films and commercials and all this stuff. And she was always the one when someone was like, someone performed, she'd be like, blah, blah, blah. And she was like always very energetic in that way. And I like very much wasn't. I remember when I told my parents I wanted to play music, they kind of laughed at me, which was quite, it's quite the story. And so I first thought, I was like, well, I love to make music, but I'm not going to do that. So how can I be the closest to that? And in my head, that was being a photographer in the photo pit at concerts. And so I was like, how do I do that? And I kind of figured that out. And then the more I created a career for myself in photography and toured with bands doing photo and stuff, the more I realized that I couldn't stand to watch someone else do what I wanted to do every second and help them advance that, knowing that I'm not going to be doing it. And so that's when I started kind of molding into doing both and kind of like putting that fear away and just trying. And it's gone well. So yeah, people are like, once you figure out you were good? And I was like, I don't know. I still haven't. Like, I just kind of
you're 21, 22 now?
I'm 21, yeah.
Yeah, so you still have, I mean, it's incredible, I think, that you've done as much as you have.
I've got like 5 lives.
Yeah, I'm putting your website, just because we're on it right now, website for your photography.
Cool, yeah.
Put it out right now. I think your photos are incredible, your live event photos. You really do capture exactly what you're talking about, this evoking this raw emotion and kind of what inspired you. So the fact that you were able to capture that on photo, I think, is incredible. And you've photographed like Father John Misty, Mr. Wives, great photos of Mac Miller. So yeah, That's incredible. And then you were able to really transition, because I also love your music, obviously.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah, and you were able to translate somehow that love for that kind of raw emotion to your music. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever I wrote stuff, like it always kind of came out that way. Monsters, which was like pretty much the first song I ever put out, that did like incredibly well.
When was that?
I put it out when I was 18, but I wrote it when I was 16. It's one of the first songs I ever wrote. Okay. I didn't even play the guitar. I remember I like wrote down the lyrics on my phone and like, or some of them. And then I like learned how to play the guitar and then eventually finished it. Like I didn't even play at the time. And it like did incredibly well. Like it's almost at 500,000 streams. I mean, granted it's been a long time, but still it's insane. And like I look back at it and I'm like, oh my God, it's like so baby. Like the lyrics are so like teen angst and sad and blah, blah. But like, I guess I was 16, so.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's translatable. That was the first song that I heard of yours. Yeah, I'm putting that one, I'm putting your YouTube video, because you also have a video for that.
My sister starring in the music video that we made for like $50, like 30 of which was Mexican food, so.
That's incredible. So that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I think you are, one of the things I talk about in my artist development program is about using the resources that you have, because artists so often are like, well, I have to save up money to go in the studio, and so I have to wait until. Yeah. And one of the things I suggest is using what you've got, and you have really done that to a T. So talk about some of the resources that you've been able to pull in when you haven't had the money to do what you wanted to do.
I've gotten really lucky, honestly, just coming from the photography background, that like I have friends who are photographers. And so like when I've needed photos, like I can hit up my friends who are photographers, and then like we'll like plan some kind of like weird conceptual shoot, but we'll go and we'll both shoot each other doing the same thing. So we kind of have made a lot of that stuff really fun. Or like one of my friends, when they were not exposed for being the worst, used to work for Dolls Kill, and we would go and shoot stuff for Dolls Kill and like have all the crazy like props and stuff, and then be like, let's shoot some photos for music too. So I kind of have been lucky in that sense that I never really had to shell out money for photographers, especially because it's expensive, but it's expensive for a reason. Like it's not like it, you know, it's understandably. And that's been with like music videos too. Like when I started working on these recent singles I've been putting out, I decided I'm just going to film all of it myself. So I bought one of those like old video with the big video cameras like over here, and just started carrying it everywhere. So my friends and I went to go to the beach at one of my friends' houses who grew up in Long Island, and we filmed all of it. And we went apple picking and made pies and did all this stuff. And I'm so grateful for everything I have in my life today. And so filming that and being able to translate that in like a track that talks about it, I think was like Home was the one that I put out most recently. And the video for it was just like all these little clips of things that I was super grateful for in my life. And people liked it, you know, like I didn't really do anything. I clipped it together in iMovie, filmed them on like a $40 camera. Like,
awesome.
Like the age online is everybody can do everything themselves, you know?
Right. Yeah. But I also find that love begets love. So when you're working from a place of love and you're grateful and you're in that place, it is returned to you. So I think
for sure.
You're also kind of demonstrating that. And now also you've been able to get onto a bunch of playlists. Right, that's something we talked about before. So tell us about that process of how you penetrated the playlist market.
I'm just crazy, and I like go on Spotify and find like user-made playlists that like fit the vibe, and then I like stalk the people on the internet and find their contact information and DM them on Instagram. And once in a while, people respond and be like, "Thanks, this is great. I'll add it." And then sometimes people respond and be like, "Stop harassing my DMs," and I'm like, "Okay."
That's what you got to do, though. You got to do it, and it's worked for you.
If they put their email out there, I'll email them, but usually they don't.
Exactly. But it does take that kind of like just. I mean, like how many emails would you say you sent out before you actually heard back from somebody?
So many.
Yeah. Exactly. So
I always tell people, I'm like, let's say you're pitching 1,500 blogs, 100 are going to get back to you if you're lucky, maybe 50, and then 5 are going to post.
Right.
Because like you never know when you're hitting the inbox. Like you know, and it's like there's all these different, you can't like expect people to, like the same way that you're busy as an artist, like think about if you were higher level and people were reaching out to you to collab all the time, like when would you have the time to respond to them if you want to do music, you know? And it's the same thing for publications, and
all the time.
especially in COVID, all the writers are laid off, so it's very different.
Yeah, totally. And now, oh, and then also another way you've kind of done that is through a lot of barter with your friends. So like you'll photograph somebody, right, and then they'll kind of help you out with.
Yeah, like I've done some, like I remember I worked with this one producer very briefly in Brooklyn, and he kind of taught me all the basics about studios before I knew any of it. And so I shot some producer photos for him for his site, and he like showed me around the studio and explained, like, let me touch all the mics and explain how they worked. So I've done stuff like that with people I found like on Facebook. When I toured, we stayed with a ton of people and we would give them merch or like whatever. Like when a venue would let us like not take a merch cut, we'd leave them a gift. Like I think kindness goes so much farther than people realize as long as it's coming from the right place. People just want to support good music. If you give them the opportunity to and you're kind to them, then like why wouldn't they help you out? You know, if you're not using them, if you're not going to step on them and go to someone else.
Yeah. And how did the tour come about? I can't believe you've already toured and everything.
I'm a chaotic, crazy person, and after moving back to New York, after living in Utah, finishing high school, I was like, I'm putting out my record in February. Why don't I tour it? Like, I'll push it. I'll do DIY gigs, blah, blah, blah. I was like, great. My friend who we had known each other, but we'd never met in person because she didn't live in the city, moved to New York for college. We got coffee right after she moved, and we were talking, and I was like, yeah, I'm thinking of touring this summer. And she was like, I'd drive. And we'd met literally, this was the first time meeting in person. And I was like, okay. And the next thing we know, 2 weeks later, we're sitting in my mom's kitchen, like planning out a route. And I was like, Mom, how would you feel if I went on tour this summer? I was like newly like 18. And she was like, okay, that sounds fun. Like thinking I wouldn't do it. And then like fast forward 2 months and we're like mailing out tour posters to like 50 venues throughout the country. And my mom is like, oh my God, like, oh shit. Like, like
you're actually doing it.
It really was just me being like, I want to do this and then doing it. Like, that's pretty much how everything in my life has come about. Being like, I'm going to do this. And then I did it.
How did you find the
venues? Be like that, but.
No, it's great. How did you find the venues?
The internet.
You just
Googled a very powerful place. Yeah, we'd like message friends. Well, so anybody we knew around the country, which like I'm lucky to know a ton of people, I'd be like, what are your favorite local venues? What's your favorite coffee shop? Like blah, blah, blah. And then we would look up like those places and then look up things in the area. And we probably emailed like 15 venues per city. Some cities like we just didn't have luck in. And so we went to a similar one. Like I remember we didn't have a lot of luck in Raleigh. So we booked a house show in Youngsville, which was like outside of Raleigh. And we played at this like in this room, and her mom like ordered pizza and she brought all her friends over and we sold like a ton of merch and it was super fun. So you know. Nice.
Oh, cool. I bet you have a bunch of amazing stories from the road.
Yeah. So many kind people literally everywhere you go. I like grew up in the little bubble. I mean, New York is obviously not sheltered, but I didn't like I had this idea that like the South is going to be really scary as a queer person. And like, I had this like, you know, like all these different concepts of what things were going to be like. Cause I'd never been anywhere. Like I'd been to like 3 states before I toured. And then like, I had this incredible experience and met like the kindest, most beautiful people, like absolutely everywhere. And the country is beautiful too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and actually on that note, so describe your style for us, or I guess more like a brand. If you, I mean, people can obviously get a feel for you, right away, but tell us if you can, like how you would describe your brand.
Yeah, definitely way sadder than I am. I think that a lot of what I've kind of built up has been this concept of like, I am just like you and I make music that you can understand and connect to. And if you make music too, that's really cool. Like kind of like this very like reachable thing. Like it's like you're right in arm's reach. Like I often have people like fans like DM me on Instagram. I always respond when I can. Like I try to like keep in touch with fans that we met at shows throughout the country. Like we had someone fly from Florida to come to a show in Brooklyn because like we didn't have a show in Florida. So, I mean, it's just kind of, I think a lot of my brand is just like a very like basic, like this is who I am as a person, and that I also make music, and I am also this and that, you know, like A, B, and C. Like I am this person. I like to hike, and I'm obsessed with my dog, and I spend way too much time with my girlfriend or my friends, and I like have a like weird lizard that I let sit on my shoulder all the time, and I like, I don't know, like I'm queer and I love being queer and all my friends are queer and like all of those things are true, and then I'm also a musician. And
Yeah.
if you hate me for anything, then like sure, that's great, but it's all a package for me.
Yeah.
Like it's rare that I have people who listen to my music who don't also like have an idea of who I am, because I think it's very much so that type of stuff, if that makes sense.
Totally. I mean, approachable, I think for sure, and just authentic. That's why I like it. And that's why I wanted to ask about it, because it's not like, oh, I am this little box over here. I am just like Taylor Swift or whatever. You are uniquely Mae Krell, you know? And I think you do that very well. So, you know, that's a good thing. Yeah. So it served you so far.
Sure.
So now you've played everywhere. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what is your take on the difference between Brooklyn and Manhattan as far as the music scenes go?
Oh my God, Manhattan has no music scene.
Lower Side does a little bit.
It's like really, I think it's all about like the city's issues. Like unfortunately, Manhattan got too expensive. Everybody can't afford it anymore. And to be able to run things DIY, you have to have space, and you have to be able to afford that. And now Brooklyn is also becoming unaffordable, but when it was, there was space to pull shows. Like I remember in high school, the amount of parties I would go to that like then you just show up and there's a band playing in the backyard, but like you have to have space for that. And I think because of that, New York City kind of lacks a local music scene.
Or Manhattan, you mean?
No,
Or
in general. I don't think the music scene in New York City is strong. Like I've
not strong. Sure. And we get some big people coming out every so often.
Oh, you know? No, the shows are incredible, but I mean more on like a local level.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, space issue. I see that. I mean, I think there are, I'm trying to, of course, I can't think of any of the bands, but I mean, what's the name of that bear? There's something, Minus the Bear. Didn't they come out of Brooklyn?
I don't know. Mr. Wives are from the Bronx.
The what?
Mr. Wives are from the Bronx.
Oh, Mr. Wives. Yeah. I mean, there are some bands still.
Yeah. I mean, I really honestly, and this is what I've told a lot of artists this, I think that it's hard to have a local scene that builds up smaller artists when most of the artists are people who came here from somewhere else. I think that local scene builds when you have artists that you want to, like, you see them and you think they're talented, you want to bring them up. But when a lot of artists have come here already having done that, they kind of have this like pretentiousness coming from somewhere else, and they think they know how things work, and they don't want to support other artists. And it's just like, I think people forget that there's space for everyone. Everyone who's talented and sticks around long enough finds a way to make a career out of something related to the arts. But I think people, they don't stick around long enough, and they like don't want to compromise. You know, like I have a lot of friends who toured for 15 years and then they wanted a family, or then they wanted to be in one place, or and they wanted to have no back problems or whatever. And that doesn't mean that they gave up. They chased their dream for 15 years, you know?
Yeah. There was a really interesting commercial during the VMAs. Did you watch the VMAs by any chance?
I did not watch the VMAs.
That's okay. But there was the commercials, they were like Super Bowl commercials. They were uniquely for music. There was one where they took one song, or actually it might have even been part of the VMAs themselves, but I think it was a commercial.
Oh, are you talking about the Julia Michaels song? Where they like had all the artists sing it, the JP Sax and Julia Michaels song? Yeah, and they did it in each neighborhood. Like they did a Lower East Side version. Oh, no. I don't know.
There was a couple different ones, but this one, it was the same song, and I think it was a famous song. My memory is like I said, but they did the same song in like a Lower East Side style, a Brooklyn style, a Bronx style. And it was really cool because it really gave the city, you know, like these flavors. We do have, I think that's the other kind of challenge that New York has, is that we have very different flavors. Like the Bronx, music scene is very different.
So different, yeah.
You know, so yeah, that was kind of interesting. And then LA. Now factor in LA versus New York.
Anything got me started on LA, I hate it.
I know.
I can't be that mean. I haven't ever lived in LA. Maybe if I live in LA, it can happen.
But you did some shows there?
I did play some shows in LA, yeah. I have a friend who's based over there who really loves it, who's from Long Island.
Right.
I just don't love, for starters, I don't like how spread out it is. It's huge. But just as a city.
You have to have a car to get anywhere. That part's annoying.
But I feel like there's, like, honestly, I want to move to Nashville. The scene there is incredible. Like, I don't want to, like, if I'm going to move anywhere for music, it's going to be Nashville, not LA. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think LA just is very, it's like cutthroat, but it's packaged with a bow. Like, I feel like it's kind of cutthroat in New York, but it's real. In LA,
it's like, oh, it's so nice to see you, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, oh, their music sucks.
Yeah.
And there's kind and incredible people there too, but I think that the general vibe of it is very different. But then again, like outside of LA, like California in general, San Diego, Sacramento have incredible DIY scenes. So many great bands in like the local scenes, but I don't know about LA's local scene. I don't know.
Right. I mean, there's much more rock and roll than New York for sure.
Yeah, there's like a surf rock band that I work with out in California that I like love. So
yeah. So Nashville. So you're thinking of Nashville. Is that do you think that's in your future? Is that the future of Mae Krell? Is in Nashville?
No, I don't know, man. I want to leave the city. I want my dog to have a backyard. I'm done.
Already? At 21, you're done with New York?
Not done, but I don't know. I think I had like my friend and I recently, this a couple months ago, pre-COVID, road trip to North Carolina to go to a show because we're crazy. And I just like, all the bands were from Nashville and they had all met just like at writers rounds and we're talking about how incredible the scene is and how much they love it. And I just kind of was like, I like had a weird moment where I was like, damn, I don't want to be like 25 or 26 having never left my hometown. And like, granted, my hometown's New York City, but I didn't go to college. So.
But you said you went to high school in Utah.
Oh, I spent a year there. It doesn't really, in my head, it doesn't really like, it was very different. I went to like boarding school kind of for like a year. It was very like controlled and it was great and it helped and I graduated, but I wouldn't consider that like really living somewhere else. Okay. Like I want to just like pick up and go. I'm like that type of person. I'm always traveling. Right now, obviously not, but I have friends who live in Florida and in Canada, blah, blah, blah. I like track the Google flights and the second they're cheap enough, I literally just buy a flight and I go. Like my dog's been to Canada like 3 times.
Yeah. I bet you would love Canada. I mean, the music scene in Canada is great.
It's cool, yeah.
Yeah. I like Canada. I would love to interview you in like 5 to 10 years from now when you're deciding, I have to get back to New York.
Oh, probably. Well, I grew up here. My parents are like waiting for my siblings to graduate high school because they want to move back home, like out of the country. And so like, I don't know if like 10 years from now, I can even see myself being in the country because I'd want to be, if my whole extended family already lives far away, if my parents are going to leave too. So, I mean, I can't, like, I hate the whole, like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now question. I'm like, I don't know, playing music, probably having a second dog and like traveling with my animals. Like that's like all I can tell you. Like I have no idea. I don't know what I want to do. Like like being 26, like I don't know.
It's just so foreign. But I love that because I think the attitude of just staying present and, really dealing with what's right in front of your face is, important.
Yeah, and obviously being like financially smart because like I think there's the whole like idea that being spontaneous means that you have to like not save and like not like have all these things that are really important. But I kind of like have tried to cut a balance between being financially responsible as like a young person and like also being able to just like do stuff. Like my friends and I are going camping, like our small like COVID safe circle tomorrow and Friday. And we just like decided one of my friends just got COVID tested for his job and we literally just decided to buy him a ticket to New York and he's literally just coming. He's coming in. We bought a ticket for him at 1 p.m. and he's getting in at 9, like 1 p.m. and he's coming in at 9 p.m. Yeah. He's on his way to the airport right now. We just like bought him a ticket. We're like, you want to come camping this weekend? Let's fly you in.
Great. I love it.
And that's like the type of person I am. You know what I mean? And what the people around me are like too. And I love that. But that doesn't mean that we like are, you know, also a mess. Like we're kind of that in between.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you have a single coming out here very soon. I want to make sure we plug that. Here, let's get the artwork for it here. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. Wash is, I wrote it a little bit ago, but it's definitely slightly more optimistic than my usual. It's also slower. It's very acoustic. We have some like tapping on a bathtub and water and all these different samples in it. That's cool. And it's pretty much just like the like lyric it was built around is it'll all come out in the wash, essentially. Like someone once told me, it all comes out in the wash is kind of the like main lyric. And it's just kind of like talking about how like things are hard and time sucks and like you look ahead and like everything's blurry, but if you let it, like everything's gonna get better, kind of.
I love it.
And you have to give it time. And then that photo is in Sag Harbor. My friend Casey took it on film and we decided to use it, which is super fun. She's a writer, so she was like, ooh, my photo on a record cover. Like, but yeah, I mean, we just like popped it on and I hand wrote stuff on my friend's iPad and that's it. Like, that's how I make album art too.
Incredible.
Like, I throw a photo and I hand write stuff on my friend's iPad. That's another thing. You don't need anything like fancy.
And that's out October 16th, right?
Yeah.
And where's the best place to get your music? Spotify,
Apple Music, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Deezer. I don't know. Anywhere you listen to music, it's gonna be there. But I try to make sure that it's on SoundCloud and Bandcamp like on release day, so like it's accessible if someone doesn't have like a streaming subscription for whatever reason. Because those two are like free to access and listen to and download.
Okay, great. So I also put your website there. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I love everything you're doing and for how authentic you are and how you're doing it. So that's even
me and my overgrown hair from COVID is so authentic. Like
I love it.
So bad.
It is authentic. So any final words you'd like to share with the world?
Just saying, thanks for listening, and I hope that you are able to kind of take something from that and pick up and do whatever you want, because it's all possible, you know.
Word. And I will catch you again in about 10 years because I'm
where you're at.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care.